What comes first? The egg or the chicken? Hey, welcome to the 10 Acre Woods. We are going to start up the incubator right away. So before we do, I just want to go over a few things. This is the incubator, and we've had quite a few people asking a lot of questions about this unit. Now, I have made some modifications to it, so people have asked me would I recommend it. I would recommend it, providing that you are a little handy and can do a few modifications. The tray here used to be a metal tray. It comes with a metal tray. I have modified it by putting in a plastic tray because that tray had leaked after the first season due to some rust issues. I had added some LED lights underneath here because when we have when we want to look at the chicks coming out or hatching, or if we have visitors that come in and look through this window, they want to see some hatching. They want to see some action. Another issue was I had some condensation coming up through this window. I have modified it by re-siliconing the inside of this window, as well as areas in behind this control panel. It's a 2-inch thick area in here, and it's just the metal had been cut out and it was exposed insulation in there. So I didn't want that to get wet. I didn't want any mold to start happening. So I went and I took this out and I enclosed it off with tuck tape. Just a few little modifications. So we're gonna get to things here. I haven't started it up yet. I preliminarily, if that's a word, I started off by putting in our temperature and our humidity. That'll beep for a minute. 100 degrees Fahrenheit is where we're going to start off at, and 58% relative humidity. So I have filled up my water trough that's gravity fed from a jug at the back, which actually I'll show you right here. And this has been another question that people have asked. And here is the gravity fed system, and here is the funnel. It comes down and goes into the back. And it comes into the back here, into this float valve heater that heats up the water and creates our humidity. Okay, so one question we had was dirty eggs. Do we clean them? So there's a lot of talk out there that you should clean them, and there's others that say you shouldn't. We don't clean them. You want to make sure you keep your nest box clean. You collect your eggs every day and put them in, or else you're going to wipe off any biological matter that's protecting the egg. So you want to make sure you don't clean that off. So we will load up our trays.
Pointy end down.
Pointy end down. Okay, so we've loaded up our trays. There's a few things that I just wanted to mention that I may have missed. On the water, on the side here, just to be clear, we started out using our well water, the unfiltered, unsoftened, and we found lots of buildup on our heater. So what we're doing is we are using our soft water, we're carrying it out from the house, and we're finding no deposits on the heater. So that might be something that you want to look at. If you don't have a softener, maybe to get a small softener, a water softener for that. The other thing is, people have asked me, well, how much does it cost to run this? So I grabbed this little unit here. You can see it's currently running, it's not on, it's just the fans running and the lights are on inside. So it's at 76.1. And if I go through the functions here, we should see low, high. It gives you all kinds of different reasons. You can see there 0.08. So this is how much, there's a few decimals in there, but this only goes to 2. 0.08 is what we pay for hydro here in Manitoba per kilowatt hour. So by going through this, it's going to say the cost at the bottom here where it's 0.00. So we will get a good gauge as to how much it costs in hydro to run this for the period of a month. So we'll keep an eye on that in future videos. This is the first of, well, I'm not sure how many. Maybe we'll do 3, 4. We may even do some in between because we'll candle them and we'll go straight from start to finish, and we'll keep track of, after candling them, how fertile they are. If they are fertile, if they're not, we will remove those, and then we will see of fertile eggs what we get out of that hatch rate. So I think that is it for now. We're going to start loading these up. We've got it off, and it's cool in here. We've got the eggs at this room temperature. We're going to put the eggs into the unit, then we're going to turn it on and let the cavity slowly heat up to the 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So we'll start off with our full tray here. And it just slides in like that. And then we've got a half tray here. And we will slide that in there. Okay, so our heater is underwater, so we know that our float is set properly. We will then turn this on. We will get the annoying beep sound that tells us, of course, we're under our temperatures. So we will just reset that. The alarm light's still on. Fans running, main heater element here, and water with element and float valve. Another question that people had asked, there's an exhaust fan up top, and they say, well, the exhaust fan's on, I'm getting too much temperature, too much humidity in my cabinet. Why is that happening? I don't seem to be getting enough airflow. Now the airflow flows into the unit, on this unit, between the doors. So there is a gap in here, and you can actually see inside the top and bottom. So if you run into that kind of a problem where you're just not eliminating enough heat, it's overheating, you're getting too much humidity, you might want to, like he says it's fine if he does this, and then he's got a larger gap. So you may want to take a look at doing something in here, or possibly opening up. I know there's a few holes in the back for accessories. You can just take this rubber plug out. So anyway, we're on and we're heating, and that's about it. So we'll keep an eye on it, and we'll come back in probably an hour or so, make sure everything's set up and running smoothly, and we'll go from there. Okay, so it's been half an hour. We are at 91% Fahrenheit and 53% relative humidity. And I thought I would take this time to answer a few questions that I found on the other incubator videos that I have. So excuse me if I get some of these names wrong, but Vinda Minha asked what the wattage was of this unit. So as I mentioned earlier on, we're going to take a look at the unit. Actually, what I can do now is we can go take a look at exactly how many watts as it's heating. Okay, so our unit here, I said 750, so it's using 794 currently, but it is running, it's running at maximum because of course both heaters are on and the water heater is also on. So 794, so you could say 800 is going to be the maximum it's going to run, but of course it's not going to keep that wattage throughout the entire process or month, because of course the heaters are going to shut off and come back on again. Okay, so the next thing we have here is Judy Rivers asked about the switch. There's a switch here for the sterilizing light. She bought one of these units and it didn't come with a sterilizer. So she was asking, did your unit come with a sterilizing light? Or did it just come with the switch? And as well, I believe there was some discussion about the light, the LED light that I put in after it was all there. It was all set up and ready to go. And that leads me into another question here about the, I'm not sure where it is here, but anyway, the incubator, the sterilizing light, how to use that. Can you put the eggs in and turn on the sterilizing light? Now, we hadn't had a sterilizing light previously. We don't recommend putting in the eggs because they'll have a film on them of good bacteria that those eggs do need. So that sterilization light is going to kill all bacteria and could damage that membrane on the shell. And of course it did come with those two lights, but we don't really use it. We would recommend when you're done, and you need to do this before you use the sterilizing light, is you go in and you take soap and water and you wash out your cabinet with soap and water. If you want to run the sterilizing light afterwards, by all means go ahead and do that, just to kill any other bacteria. But a good soap and water cleaning and rinse is really all you need. Okay, so how much did the incubator cost? We bought it from an American company. They didn't ship to Canada, so we actually had to go down to the border and pick it up. And it cost us, with the exchange and everything, the shipping and the incubator itself, it was just under $1,000 Canadian. What do we got here? Jemmer Udin says, how much does the incubator hold? So the incubator holds, it's a Pro 264, holds 264 eggs, chicken eggs that is, quail eggs, smaller eggs. Now goose eggs and peafowl eggs, we've found that you have to stagger them. So you could probably figure half that for the larger goose eggs. Okay, and Zach Jan asked, well, he put 10 eggs under his wife, and 21 days later he didn't get baby humans. Well, I said he was using the wrong kind of eggs. Anyway, moving along here, sterilizer and the eggs. So again, yes, Eco Farms asked about the sterilizing light, which was a very popular subject. And yes, it can damage the eggs if you run the sterilizing light with the eggs in it. The price. Okay, so Victor Limbu, he asked, he's been thinking about turning one of his incubators into a brooder. Now this you can do, and we had actually thought of that, but what we have done is, we have a container. We use these yellow containers initially the first year, but I think what we're going to do, these ones up here, what we're going to do this year is we're going to use this guy here, and this slides right underneath here. And this is where the eggs go in the last 3 days when they're going to start hatching out. So we put them in there, and then they pip out. And we want to make sure that they're dry before we remove them from this environment. And then our area just over here, this is set up for all of our new chicks. So we have heat lights, heat lamps up here. And something with the heat lamps is something that I just want to make sure, you want to use the red ones. And the reason you want to use the red ones is because it's got something to do with, it keeps them awake, keeps them up, and keeps them active. And if you use the white or the clear light, you're going to notice that your chicks are going to start pecking your other chicks, and you could, cause some injuries there. So by using the red light, it's going to soothe them, and it's going to make them a little more docile, and there's not going to be that pecking that there is with the white light. Okay, so I think I answered that. You can use a second incubator if you like, but we just have them in here dry, and then we put them in under the heat lamp. Okay, so temperature about hatching. So we've been playing around with some different temperatures. What we've been finding here is 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 58 to 60 percent relative humidity is where you want to stay. And we keep that through the whole process. The exhaust fan, Sohag Miha asked about the exhaust fan. Does it go in or out? It blows out the back, as I had mentioned earlier, and it pulls air from different door cavities in here. Okay, we have Chilra Rubin asks about peacock eggs. We put them in the incubator. We haven't done so much with that. We did last year. They weren't fertile. We generally like them to sit on them. That's our primary goal. If they'll go and they'll make a nest, and this is the ducks as well, if they go and make a if they make a nest, then we prefer them to make their own nest and to hatch them out. We find that they have a much better hatch rate than we do in the incubator, and we prefer that. And the last question. Judy Rivers again asked the same question as one of the other ones about the switch. There is no light, but there is the switch. So yes, ours did come with the switch and all the lights in it. So maybe you might want to contact the seller and ask about that if you have any questions as to if that's going to be there or not. Okay, we're back 2 hours later. You can see here from the egg turning times is 2, so it turns every hour. So you can use this as a gauge as to how many hours the machine has been running. Hatching days, we're on 0 hatching days, and we're at 99% of 100%. Actually, it's switching to 98, but the second heater's coming on just to kind of bring up that number. And our humidity is almost at range. It's at 54% of 58%. So generally when the temperature changes, bringing up the humidity, it tends to fluctuate once it gets up to that temperature. But this will be probably around 2 points, 2 to 3 points, which is, it'll be fairly accurate. In around this time when temperatures are changing, it tends to fluctuate quite a bit. Today we had a seed swap, so that was a good time. Everybody that was here enjoyed themselves, and it was just a time of year just to get everybody together and to learn from each other and to swap seeds. We had a few people that were into honey, which was something new. And it was a great turnout. So what I'll do is I'll put a little time lapse that I have just on the end of this video, as people don't generally like you pulling out a camera and filming them. I try to be understanding in that way. So I figured a nice time lapse would be a good way to end this segment, and we will see you probably next week. Next weekend we'll probably start doing the candling of the eggs, and we'll show you how that's done, and we'll move forward from there. So until next time, enjoy this little time lapse, and thanks for liking and subscribing, and we'll see you next week.